Hey everybody, Mr. Klein here. Today I'm going to show you how to use Google Sheets to make an ogive. If you go to our buddy Samples of Human Height, perhaps for the last time, open that up, find the tab that says ogive. I would say that of all the different graphs that we make using Google Sheets, this one's probably the most complicated, so I've included a list of steps here. Let's work through those steps together. I'm going to make myself small. All right. So first step is to take your data, which you've seen these before. These are the weight in kilograms. And to sort it ascending, meaning from the least to greatest. So we're going to highlight that data. We're going to go to data. We're going to sort range A to Z. Now, next thing you want to note, the largest value is 125. The smallest is 47. Those differ by about 75. So the second thing that we're going to need to do is choose the intervals and then type them into two columns. So I'm going to do that right here. I'm actually going to merge these two cells, call it interval. Now, since I'm starting at 47, I need to pick a number that's smaller than 47. That's a nice number. So 45 could be an option. 40 could be an option. I think I'm going to go with 40, and I'm going to move in intervals of 10. Because if I go in intervals of 10, let's see, that would make this equal to, and then this would be equal to the number above it plus 10, right? So now my intervals would be 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80, 80 to 90, 90 to 100, 110, 120. It goes up to 125. So let's see, how many intervals do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's probably good. I wouldn't go much over 10. I wouldn't go any smaller than 5. All right, so that's where we're going to begin, is by once we've sorted them ascending. Step 2 is to choose our intervals and make two columns. So the next thing we want is the frequency for each one of these intervals. And I'm going to center this data. So we'd say from 40 to 50, I can see pretty clearly there's just one of those. I'm going to enter. For the rest of them, because I'm bad at counting, I'm going to do this instead. I'm going to say from 50 to 60 would be each one of those values. Keep in mind that the 60s are not included. They go on the next column. So when it says 50 to 60, that means 50 up to anything less than 60. All right, so we go to the next one, and I'm just going to continue this all the way down the page. Let's see, 70 to 80. $80 to $90. $90 to $100. And then for the last few, I think I can count them because there's so few. Okay, so 100 and 103, so there'd be 2, and then 1, and then 1. I always like to count up the total and make sure it matches. There should be 120 because I know there's 120 values in this set. So sum of from here to here gives us 120. Okay, did that correctly. If this had come out wrong, I would have to go back and recheck on my work. All right, so now that we've got that, we're going to find the cumulative frequency. And we now need to text wrap these. And I'm gonna center them I'm going to highlight them, and I'm going to center just because it looks good. All right, so we know that for our first set, by the time we get to 50, we've only had one value. But by the time we get to 60, we've had these 15 values, and we've had this one above. Remember, this is the cumulative frequency. So what I want to do is I want to take the 15, and I want to add onto it the one that we had above it. So I'm at 16. Now, when we get to the next interval, there's 32 in this interval, plus there had already been 16. So you'll notice that what I'm doing for each one of these rows is I'm taking the value that is in the interval and I'm adding to it how many were in all of the intervals below. You can actually take that formula and you can just paste it on down the line. When we get to the last one, it should hit 120 because we know there are 120 values in the data set. So there is our cumulative frequencies. Now, let's find the percentages that are associated with those. So that's the relative cumulative frequency. Okay. Relative always means percent. So it's the percents associated with the cumulative frequencies, which are in this column. So I'm going to say there was a 1, and I want to divide that by the total number of values in the set. What are you guys squealing about? And that is in this right here, E20. And I think I'm going to type that in this way. Could also just type in 120. Right. Now, if I copy that, it will work all the way across or down the column. I should get a 1 in the last space. If you don't get a 1 right there, uh-oh, you made a boo-boo, try again. All right, so I'm going to center those, and I am also going to go to Format, and I'm going to turn those into percent. All right, so here's our percent. Now, here's the thing that I find to be trickiest about making the ogive, is that we need to think of these numbers as the percent when you get to the end of the interval. So the 0.83% is associated with the 50, and the 13.333 is associated with the 60. So I am going to copy these values, and then I'm going to copy these values. Now, when you paste these values, since each one of these is a formula, you can't just paste over here. Instead, what you have to do is go to Edit, Paste Special, and then you want to paste the values only. So it won't be using the formulas, just the numbers. Now, the reason you have to do it this way is you need one more value. Any ogive has to start at 0 and end at 1. So I need it to begin with a 0 right here. And what we're going to say is that at 40, we know that the relative cumulative frequency is 0. So you have one more value there. And then now these data right here will make up the graph that we are about to construct. This right here is the, I can just copy this, relative cumulative frequency. And this right here is the weight in kilograms. Okay. If we want to, we can take these and we can center them just because it looks good. And then highlight that interval, go to your buddy, the chart maker. Let's get myself out of the way. And then it's going to give us some options. You should go to this one right here, the line chart. And voila, there you go. You've got yourself an ogive. Good stuff.